A toddler had vanished. Her dad was desperately trying to find her and bring her home. The toddler's mother and boyfriend, however, were the last ones to have seen her. But now, no one was talking. No one was saying where the little girl had gone. Welcome back. I'm Cassie, and this is A Wicked World. The case I have for you today is one that never got a lot of media attention behind it. And it's surprising because there was a little girl just under 2 years old who was missing for over 2 months before she was found. Oaklee had so many people that loved and cared about her, yet she was still disposed of like she was trash. This is the story of Oaklee Snow. Oaklee Snow was born on March 10th, 2021 in Cromwell, Oklahoma. She had beautiful blonde hair and blue eyes. Oaklee was a happy and silly toddler. Her mother's name was Madison Marshall, and she was 19 at the time that she had Oaklee. Her father was Zachary Snow. Just about a year after she was born, she ended up becoming a big sister to her little brother Colton. And soon after Colton's birth, Zach and Madison broke up. On January 19th of this year, 2023, Zachary Snow called and reported both of his children missing. He said that their mother Madison, along with her boyfriend, had come to his home and without permission taken the 2 children. He told police that he believed they might have taken off to Indianapolis as Madison's boyfriend, ROAN, had family that lived there. The search started for the couple and the 2 children. Now, before we talk about what happened from this point on, we need to go back a few months. On October 26, 2022, Madison Marshall contacted the Oaklee County Sheriff's Office, and I hope I'm saying that right because she told them that ROAN had assaulted her. Once the police responded to the couple's house, they went and knocked on the front door. They were greeted by a less than friendly ROAN who opened the door and started screaming at them, asking if they had a warrant to be on his property. Before the police were even able to answer, he slammed the door in their faces. Through the closed door, the police officers tried to explain to him that they were just there for a welfare check. ROAN again screamed at them, but this time it was a get the f*** out. The officers could see that they were not getting anywhere with him, and they started to walk back to their vehicle. As they were doing this, Madison just happened to pull into the driveway with the 2 children in the back of the car. The officers went over and tried speaking with Madison, but just as they did this, ROAN came barreling out of the house, yelling and screaming. He then started blasting loud music so that the officers and Madison could not hear each other. When the officers were finally able to understand that Madison was telling them that everything was okay and they were safe, the officers left without speaking to ROAN as he was completely uncooperative. That same day, Madison took off and went to Zach's house. When she got there, she told Zach about what had happened, and Zach made a call to the police for her to officially report the incident. When the officers showed up at Zach's house to speak with Madison, she informed them that ROAN had hit Oaklee in the mouth the day before with an open hand. She said he had done this because the little girl was crying. She then lifted up Oaklee's lip and showed the officers the cut that she had underneath the lip. She also showed them the cut that ROAN had given her over her eyelid. She had received this after she confronted him about hitting her daughter, and he smacked her. Madison decided she was only going to file charges for the assault against her daughter and not for the assault against her. A couple of weeks later, on November 7th, a warrant was issued for ROAN arrest on the charges of child abuse and domestic assault in the presence of a minor. So that's most everything up until January 19th of 2023, when Zach called to say that Madison and ROAN had taken the 2 children. As Zach had predicted, the 2 adults had driven the children to Indianapolis. ROAN's mother lived there, and she was allowing them to stay in one of her rental properties. While they were there, she also bought them food, formula, and helped take care of them. The house that they had moved into was known as a trap house. It was a commonly known spot for people to come hang out and use drugs together. When they first moved in, ROAN's sister, Kiona, would often visit. However, one time she came into the house and she noticed that Oaklee had quite a few bruises. When she said this, ROAN got incredibly angry and told her to leave the house. If that doesn't scream guilty. On February 9th, ROAN's mother got a call from one of ROAN's friends named Chad. Chad had called to tell her that Colton, Oaklee's little brother, had been abandoned by MADISON and ROAN, and that the child was with him. ROAN's mother called him to see what had happened. ROAN told her that Oaklee had bumped her head while bouncing on a ball and they had to take her to the hospital. She wondered why, in the back of her head, they didn't just take Colton as well, but she didn't question it at the time. ROAN's mother went and picked up baby Colton. She then brought him to Kiona, as she was going to care for Colton until his biological father, Zach, came to pick him up. Kiona says that when ROAN and MADISON finally arrived back later that day, they were alone and Oaklee was not with them. Not wanting to start another huge family fight, she didn't say anything at the time and simply left. She did later call CPS and report her brother. Nobody knew where Oaklee was at this point. At least, nobody that was speaking. ROAN and MADISON had taken off as well, and nobody knew where they had gone. It was soon found out that there was no hospitals in the area that had any record of Oaklee coming in or being seen. When Kiona finally asked her brother and MADISON where Oaklee was, they told her they had voluntarily chosen to give her up. They told her that they handled it and had a hard decision to make. They refused to give her any further information. At this point, Kiona was positive that Oaklee was in some kind of serious danger. So that was all in February. Almost an entire month goes by when on March 3rd, ROAN is finally brought in on his warrant. The Greenwood Village Police in Colorado were responding to a complaint they had received regarding some guests at a local Best Western. When they got there, they realized that one of the guests was ROAN Waters. Since they had a warrant out for his arrest, they were able to take him into custody. The officers knew that MADISON was also staying at the hotel, but at that point, they said they had no reason to detain her as well. Oaklee's missing. I feel like that's enough cause right there. The police officers also said that it looked like there were not any children that had been staying with the couple. When ROAN was brought in for questioning, he told them that he had traveled from Oklahoma to Indianapolis with MADISON and her 2 children in his blue Dodge Durango. He said that they stayed at this trap house so that the 2 of them could use drugs. He told them that they actively made the decision to leave Colton behind and that they had also left Oaklee behind in Indianapolis before they had left for Colorado. He had no information as to where either one of the children were. He had no idea that Colton had already been found. That same night, on March 3rd, MADISON had the nerve to show up at Kiona's house and ask her if she could stay there. Kiona said, "Yeah, sure, if you tell me where Oaklee is." MADISON didn't say a word and promptly left. Back in Indianapolis, a neighbor that had lived near MADISON, ROAN, and the children spoke with police. She told them that at the beginning of February, she had seen MADISON and ROAN leaving the house with what looked like a child wrapped in a blanket. The witness stated that the child appeared to not be moving, crying, or talking. Since ROAN wasn't giving up very much information, police were speaking with other people as well. One of these other people was Chad. He told the cops that both MADISON and ROAN were active drug users who liked to snort heroin. He said this would cause them to be non-functioning for prolonged periods of time. He also said that the 2 of them were pretty much inattentive to their children. They would often sit them down in front of the TV and not pay any attention to them. He said that he never saw them showing the kids any love or affection. Chad went on to tell police that the morning of February 9th, he arrived at the family's home, and when he did, Oaklee was excited to see him. She went over to him and he picked her up. It was at that time that he noticed that the little girl was wearing makeup around her eyes and mouth. and he had never noticed this before. It also looked like an adult had applied the makeup. It wasn't just her getting into the makeup and making a mess of herself. It looked like something was being hidden. He told them that he also noticed a bruise that went from her bottom lip to her chin. He said this was the last time that he saw Oaklee. Another neighbor that lived by the house that Oaklee had last been seen in said that she had seen a cleaning crew or a work crew arrive at the house sometime in early February. She said the crew had painted as well as moved items out of the house, including a roll of carpet. She said they worked late into the night. On March 7th, police obtained a warrant to search and seize the Dodge Durango that belonged to ROAN. The car was found at ROAN's brother's house. Unfortunately, when police got there, ROAN's brother's wife told them that she had just given it a thorough cleaning because it smelled like dog poop, is what she said. I'm thinking it was probably more like a rotting smell, but she also told officers that she had been paid by ROAN's mother to fly out to Colorado with her husband and pick up the Dodge Durango along with MADISON and drive it back to Indianapolis. She said on the drive back, she also saw MADISON throw her cell phone out of the window. During the trip back, she also told her that she had never wanted Oaklee and told her how difficult being a mother had been. MADISON also said that she was going to be going to North Carolina to be with some guy named Nick. The new information was helpful, but detectives still had to figure out where in North Carolina MADISON had gone, if that was even where she had gone. Zach, who was eager to find out where his daughter was, started to do some investigating of his own on Facebook. He wanted to find out where MADISON was. He figured if he could find out where she was, then maybe she would start talking to police and they could find his daughter as well. So Zach started looking at MADISON's three Facebook profiles and see if they had any mutual friends and see if there was anybody that lived in North Carolina, as police had told him that was possibly where she went. Zach ended up identifying a mutual friend of theirs that happened to live near Fayetteville, North Carolina. Zach told officers that her and MADISON were pretty close friends, and if she was going to North Carolina, that's definitely where she would go, and that's who she would confide in. At this point, a warrant had also been issued for MADISON's arrest. It was on 2 counts of abandoning a dependent, one for Oaklee and one for Colton about a month back. Police went to the friend's house in North Carolina. When they spoke to said friend, she said that she didn't have any contact with MADISON and she didn't know anything about it. Zach, however, provided the officers with some screenshots of this friend's Facebook timeline. The screenshot shows a post from March 4th, 2023 of MADISON commenting on this friend's wall and saying, "Text me ASAP." On March 23rd, members of the FBI located MADISON at the friend's house, where they thought she would be. She was then placed under arrest and brought in for questioning. When detectives spoke to MADISON, she told them everything that they wanted to know. She first told them about the mistreatment of Oaklee by ROAN. ROAN had little to no patience with Oaklee, and when she upset him by doing some of the tiniest little things, such as having an accident, crying, not eating quick enough, or holding her fork the wrong way, then ROAN would lose his temper and get physical with the little girl. Oaklee had stopped eating around ROAN altogether because whenever he was not happy with the pace that she was eating at, he started getting very angry and physical with her. So she had just stopped eating altogether when he was there. MADISON said that she attempted time and time again to explain to him that she was only a baby and that this was normal behavior. She told him that she probably didn't understand a lot of the time what he was telling her to do. MADISON said that when she did this, though, the anger that he had that was going towards Oaklee got directed at her instead, at which time he struck MADISON as well. MADISON then told them about what had happened the morning of February 9th, the same day that Colton had been abandoned with ROAN's friend Chad. Then Madison told them what had happened on the morning of February 9th. She said that her and Roan were woken to the sounds of Oaklee crying because she was hungry. This irritated Roan, so he went over to Oaklee, picked her up, and threw her into the floor. This caused her to get a large red bump above her eye. That's why Madison had applied makeup, the same makeup that Chad said he had seen on Oaklee that morning. Later that same day, when Madison was cooking lunch, Oaklee had come into the kitchen to ask her for something to eat. She told Oaklee that she was currently cooking and to go wait in the other room, it would be done shortly. Oaklee then walked into the living room where Roan was watching TV and Colton was laying on the floor in front of him. Shortly after, Madison says that she heard Roan yelling at Oaklee. Specifically, he was ordering her to bounce on her bouncy ball. Those big balls with the handle on top that the kids hold on to. Well, she's not even 2 yet, and those are oftentimes pretty big. So she probably couldn't bounce the thing. She could probably barely get on it because she was tiny. Roan's voice kept getting louder and angrier as he kept yelling at her to bounce on the ball. Why that's so important to this man, I have no idea. Madison said she yelled back at him many times to calm down and that Oaklee probably did not know what he was saying. But she had said before that anytime she tried to stick up for Oaklee, that he would come after her. But this time, she didn't say that happened. So, I don't know. After the 5th and loudest time that he yelled, Madison said that she finally stopped what she was doing and went into the living room. She saw Oaklee sitting on the ball with Roan just hovering over her. Roan saw Madison and snapped at her, told her to leave the room. He then sat back down on the couch. Madison says that she thought, since he had sat back down on the couch, and he wasn't saying anything anymore to Oaklee, that everything was good, the situation was over. She said that she didn't hear anything come from the living room for about 10 minutes, and then she heard Roan scream for her twice. She ran towards the living room, and she saw him holding Oaklee in his arms, limp. Without Madison even asking Roan anything, he kept saying over and over that he didn't do anything and that it wasn't his fault. At first, he refused to even give Oaklee to Madison. Now, Oaklee was still breathing at this point, even though she wasn't moving, and he would not give her to Madison. I cannot even imagine your child laying there and you can't help them or be there for them because this man is telling you no. I probably would have committed murder myself. Roan took Oaklee and stripped off her clothes and decided to put her in the bathtub to see if he could revive her that way. When that failed, he brought Oaklee into the bedroom and he finally handed her over to Madison. Madison said that she was trying to call 911, but he grabbed the phone away from her and wouldn't let her. He at that time also told her that she couldn't call the police or she was going to go to jail. And that scared her. So Roan took Oaklee and wrapped her inside a pink and black blanket. And the 3 of them walked out to the car together. Roan placed Oaklee in the back seat of the Durango. Madison got in the back and said that she held Oaklee in her lap and occasionally would open the blanket to examine her. But soon after they had gotten into the car, Oaklee's lips were blue and she was cold to the touch. She wasn't breathing any longer. Initially, Madison had denied to cops that she left the house that day with Roan, carrying her daughter's body. She eventually admitted, as I said, that she did leave the house with Roan to dispose of Oaklee's remains. Roan drove them to Martinsville, where they went down road after road until he finally pulled into a gravel driveway of a dilapidated old house. Madison stayed inside the car, and Roan took Oaklee out and brought her inside the house through a broken window. When he came back, he was no longer holding Oaklee's body, and he told Madison that he had put her inside of a dresser. He also, at this time, said to Madison, "I don't have to kill you now too, do I?" Makes me wonder if he's killed other people before, because he seems pretty comfortable with the idea all of a sudden. Scary. As Madison was speaking with investigators, she also let them know that ROAN's mother knew what had happened to Oaklee, even though she had been adamantly denying it throughout the entire investigation to this point. She was the one who had even bought Madison's Greyhound bus ticket to get her to North Carolina. The police put Madison in one of their cars and had her lead them to where Oaklee's remains were. At first, she forgot where the house was because she was distressed at the time it was happening. But eventually, after going down a whole bunch of roads, she was able to identify the old abandoned house that Oaklee's body had been left in. When police went inside the house, they said it was so dirty and filled with trash that it was difficult to even walk inside there. They then saw a dresser that was leaning up against a kitchen wall. And when they went over to the dresser, they opened the bottom drawer, there was poor little Oaklee. In May of this year, 2023, Madison Marshall was charged with 6 different counts of neglect, including neglect of a dependent resulting in death. She was also charged with assisting a criminal. ROAN Waters was charged with 6 different counts of neglect as well. He was also charged with battery resulting in the injury of a victim under the age of 14, and he was charged with murder. The rest of Oaklee's family says, "We are heartbroken at the results for Oaklee. We are numb and at a loss for words. Nothing can explain the amount of pain family and close loved ones are feeling at this time. We will always carry Oaklee in our hearts for the rest of our life. She did not deserve this, and we are seeking justice for her. Please continue prayers for her family and loved ones. This is a nightmare that unfortunately we won't get to wake up from." Thank you for listening to all of Oaklee's story today. Poor, sweet, adorable Oaklee was just about to turn 2 when this awful man so cruelly ended her life. Madison and ROAN's trials have not yet taken place, as this case is so recent. Thankfully, baby Colton made it out of this situation unharmed and is back living with Zach again. I really hope that Oaklee ends up getting the justice that she deserves, as well as the rest of her family. If you do like true crime and want to hear it from me, then don't forget to subscribe below and give this video a like if you feel like it. Thank you for watching A Wicked World. Until next time, take care guys. Bye.